But he talked, okay? He talked about the guys he ran with. Dale signaled for the tape to start. I'm listening. Mosley had a crew, real professionals, but there was this one guy, Michael Benicio. He was the one who handled the heavy stuff, but Michael left. He went back to Ohio right after Mosley got busted. Cleveland? Dale asked, a memory stirring from the files. Yeah, Cleveland, Jennings said, tears welling in his eyes. And there was another one, Willie Hall. They called him Crazy Willie. If anyone did it, it was him. He didn't care about rules. He didn't even care about the money as much as the rush. Dale looked at Hooper through the observation glass. They had two new names. One was in the Rust Belt, and the other was a ghost in the L.A. Basin. Chapter 7. The Rust Belt Cold. Cleveland in February was a stark contrast to the sun-drenched sprawl of Orange County. The air was a razor, cutting through Dale's light California jacket as he and Hooper stepped off the plane. The sky was a flat, oppressive gray, and the snow on the ground was a dirty, slushy slush. Remind me why we're here again? Hooper grumbled, shivering. Because Michael Benicio is our bridge, Dale said, pulling his collar up. And because I'd rather be cold in Cleveland than stuck in a dead end in Huntington Beach. They met Benicio's attorney first. To their surprise, the lawyer was eager to talk. My client is facing a long stretch for a robbery here in Ohio, the attorney said, tapping a pen on his desk. His parents put up their house for his bond. He's not going anywhere. If you can offer him a deal, if his cooperation in California can mitigate his sentence here, he's all yours. Michael Benicio was not what Dale expected. He was personable, articulate, and seemed genuinely tired of the life. He didn't look like a member of a stick-up crew. He looked like a man who had realized too late that the easy way was actually the hardest path of all. Mosley was the brains, Benicio told them in a quiet corner of his lawyer's office. He had it all mapped out, the Queen Mary robbery, the credit union. We were making a lot of money. But then Danny got locked up, and the crew fell apart. We were leaderless. Tell us about Franklin Ewan, Dale said. Benicio sighed. Danny talked about him all the time. The pharmacist. He knew the man had cash. He knew his routine because he'd been his guard. It was supposed to be the big one, but then Danny went down, and most of us just wanted out. Except for Willie Hall, Dale prompted. Benicio's face darkened. Willie, he was a different breed. He stayed behind. I had a 357, a real beauty. I didn't want to take it across state lines, so I gave it to Willie to hold for me. I told him to keep it safe until I came back. Dale felt his pulse quicken. A 357 Magnum. Yeah, Willie was desperate. With Danny gone, his income vanished. He was talking about hitting the pharmacist on his own. He said he had the man's address. How? Hooper asked. Yuen was careful. Even the guards didn't know where he lived. Benicio leaned in. Willie had a girl, a dispatcher. She worked the system for him. All he needed was a license plate number and a sob story about a hit and run. She gave him everything. Chapter 8. The Ghost of a Chance. The deal was struck. With the cooperation of the FBI and the Ohio District Attorney, Michael Benicio was released into Dale and Hooper's custody. They were responsible for him, a heavy burden for two detectives 3,000 miles from home. If he bolts, it's our badges, Hooper whispered as they boarded the flight back to California. He won't bolt, Dale said, watching Benicio stare out the window at the clouds. He's got his parents' house on the line. He's more afraid of his mother than he is of us. Back in California, the plan took shape. It was a sting, a delicate, high-stakes piece of theater where the slightest missed cue could result in a body bag. We need Willie to talk, Dale told Benicio. We've wired the car. We've got a surveillance team following you. You're going to pick him up, go for a long drive, and talk about the old times. Talk about the pharmacist. Willie's armed, Benicio warned. He's always armed. We know, Dale said. That's why you're going to be careful. The day of the sting was overcast, a rare, gloomy day in Southern California that felt like an omen. Benicio drove a nondescript sedan, the interior rigged with high-sensitivity microphones. Dale and Hooper sat in a van 3 blocks away, headphones clamped to their ears. He's at the apartment, Hooper said, watching the graining monitor. Willie Lintonhall walked out of the building. He was a small man, but he moved with an aggressive, twitchy energy. He hopped into the passenger seat of Benicio's car. Hey, man! Long time! Benicio's voice came over the wire, steady but with a hint of forced cheer. Yeah, where are we going? Hall's voice was raspy, the sound of a man who smoked too much and slept too little. Let's just drive. I miss the sun, man. Cleveland is a tomb. As the car moved through the streets of Los Angeles, the conversation drifted through the history of their crimes. They talked about the thrill of the take, the adrenaline of the chase, and then Benicio took the leap. Whatever happened to that pharmacist? You know, the one Danny was always obsessed with? The guy with the briefcase? There was a long silence on the tape. Dale held his breath. Oh, that? Hall finally said, and Dale could almost hear the shrug in his voice. I handled it. Handled it? You mean you robbed him? Hall chuckled, a dry, hollow sound. I tried, but the son of a bitch wouldn't let go. He fought me, Michael, in his own garage. Can you believe that? An old man like that, trying to be a hero. So what happened? I blasted him, Hall said, his tone as casual as if he were talking about the weather. I blasted that son of a bitch right in the chest. I didn't even get the money. I heard the family screaming inside and I just bailed. All that work for nothing. Dale looked at Hooper. They had it. A full confession, on tape, in the killer's own voice. But hey, Hall continued, you want to hear the best part? How I found him? I climbed a tree, man. I sat in a tree in his front yard like a damn owl, waiting for him to pull into the driveway. It was like something out of a movie. He's a regular National Geographic special, Hooper muttered, his face grim. Stay close, Dale ordered the surveillance teams. We take him the moment they hit the freeway exit. We don't give him a chance to use that gun. The Shadow of the 31st. A novel by Gemini novelist, Persona. Prologue. The Weight of Gold. The Pacific Ocean had a way of whispering promises to those who stood on the shores of Huntington Beach. In January 1989, the air carried a sharp, salty chill that cut through the lingering warmth of the California sun. For Franklin Ewan, that salt air was the scent of success. Franklin was a man built on the architecture of resilience. He had come from China with nothing but a pharmacy degree and a determination that burned like a low, steady flame. By 43, he had carved a kingdom out of the suburban sprawl. He owned pharmacies in Carson, gritty, hard-working neighborhoods where people knew the value of a dollar and the necessity of a kind word. To his customers, he wasn't just a pharmacist, he was Dr. Yuen, the man who stayed open late, the man who understood the immigrant's struggle because he lived it every single day. But success in the L.A. basin came with a shadow. Franklin knew that the cash he carried, the thick stacks of bills meant to cash the paychecks of his workers at the end of the month, was a beacon for the desperate. He lived a double life. A titan of industry in the rugged streets of Carson, and a doting father in the manicured safety of Huntington Beach. He believed the two worlds could be kept apart. He believed a security guard and a sturdy briefcase could bridge the gap between danger and dreams. He was wrong. Chapter 1. The January Chill. January 31st. 1989. The clock on the dashboard of Franklin's sedan ticked toward the evening. It was the last day of the month, the day of the shadow economy. In the briefcase on the passenger seat sat $30,000 in cold, hard cash. It was a weight he felt in his bones. He pulled into the driveway of his Huntington Beach home. The streetlights were just beginning to flicker to life, casting long, skeletal shadows across the emerald lawns of the neighborhood. This was the sanctuary. Here, the violence of the inner city felt like a distant broadcast from another planet. "Daddy!" The voice of his youngest daughter drifted through the window as he pulled into the garage. He smiled, a genuine, weary smile that smoothed the lines of exhaustion on his face. "Hey, sweetie," Franklin called out, his voice muffled by the hum of the garage door closing. "Hold on. Let me put these boxes down. I've got something for you." He stepped out of the car, the concrete floor cold beneath his dress shoes. He reached back for the briefcase, the one containing the toy he'd promised, tucked right next to the $30,000. The garage was a transition zone, a place of tools, bicycles, and the lingering scent of gasoline. The noise that followed didn't sound like a gunshot at first. In the quiet of Huntington Beach, it sounded like a heavy wooden plank snapping in half. A sharp, violent crack that shattered the domestic peace. Inside the kitchen, his wife Yvonne froze. The sound was wrong. It didn't belong to the rhythm of their evening. "Franklin?" she whispered. Then came the silence. A heavy, suffocating silence that lasted only seconds but felt like an eternity. The door to the garage pushed open. Franklin didn't walk in. He staggered. His white dress shirt, once crisp and professional, was blossoming with a terrifying, jagged flower of crimson. The red was spreading, soaking into the fabric, defying the sterile reality of their kitchen. "Dad! Franklin!"